In case you haven't heard, CU Athletics is teaming up with Taco Bell this season, launching the first ever $7 Buffs box, which is available at participating Colorado Taco Bell locations. What's in the Buffs box? A lot of great stuff. You get four Taco Bell classics, a cheesy gordita crunch, a beefy five-layer burrito, a Doritos Locos Tacos, cinnamon twists, and the meal comes with a signature Buffs collectible cup featuring either Julian Juju Lewis, Jordan Seaton, Draylon Miller, or Quentin Gibson. And this isn't just about the food. Every single CU touchdown this year means more than points. Taco Bell will donate $1,000 for every Buffs touchdown to the Golden Buffalo Scholarship Fund. Nothing better than crushing a Buffs box while watching the Buffs light up the scoreboard. Live Moss. All right, we're live here, and we've got William Gardner. Let me add him to the stage. There we go. How you doing, William?
Hey man, you got to add a Ryan Staub cup. Sorry, not my. They're gonna have to figure that out. I have to add a Ryan Staub cup now. Not to cause trouble right off the bat, but there it is.
Oh, we're getting way into all that, and we've got Sean Niehoff coming on pretty soon, and we're just going to set the stage for him, and then we've got our new Will that's going to join the show here before too long.
Yeah,
and he's got our Buffs in the NFL feature. I know a lot of Buffs have been kicking off here in the last 15, 17 minutes. Travis Hunter has begun his NFL career, but we're not going to spend too much time on that because the other Will has a lot to add to his story on Tuesday for us, and he's going to update us on all that. General quick impressions based on the opener, and then we'll welcome Sean in.
Or the home. I'd say you can't. I'll tell you this. I think I sent you a couple texts towards the end of the game that when I went back and rewatched the game, I retract those because you can't trust what you see the first time you watch a football game, especially when you watch it live, because you cannot. There's just too much going on, and your initial impressions are almost always wrong. And so I went back and watched that game again, and looked a lot better to me in the rewatch. I actually came away from the rewatch feeling pretty darn good about this team and about where we're headed, and a lot of good things happened. And I guess I had to look back. I think there's a lot of angst and panic going on out there, and I think people need to breathe into some paper bags or something, drink more liquor or whatever you need to do. But you think back,
no, don't drink more liquor, because I think that's what fuels a lot of our game threads, and sometimes I'm just kind of going, man, like,
right,
you got to be able to enjoy a win sometimes, and
right.
Not to say that there wasn't a ton after that game to question, and I feel like I have more question marks about this football team, I think we all do, than we did going in, but that doesn't remove the result of the fact that as a diehard college football fan, you like 3% of the days have a regular season game.
Yeah.
Like one a month, and it's condensed in the short period of time. If you win a game 31-7 and you can't enjoy that, then it's sad. Like, it just, like, you want people to be able to share their frustration in certain aspects without it delving down into a cesspool of emotion.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I guess we'll get into a lot of this. I don't think there's a lot of reason to be frustrated personally. And I think if you look back to last year, people forget that we're looking better these first two games than we did in the last two games. Our loss this year was by a much closer margin to a much better team. And our win was by a larger margin. It was never really in doubt. So, this game was never in doubt. I think it took really till the fifth game for us to get rolling last year. We managed to stay in there and win those games before that. But this is a team under Coach Prime that seems to take a little time to get rolling. And as long as you can still get a win out of it, who gives a damn? I mean, we got to see three quarterbacks. I think we got to learn something there. We had quite a few guys step up that I did not expect, who were very exciting to talk about. This game was never in doubt. So I thought, frankly, Shermer did a lot better job calling plays. And again, like you said, if you can't enjoy this win, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, still a little bit too much of the horizontal stuff. I felt like it was kind of catching them off guard somehow early on, because you felt like Delaware after that Georgia Tech game was going to know that was the MO of this offense. But there were some moments like DeKalen Taylor hitting that corner, to get that first down, to allow Ryan Staub to have the opportunity to throw that touchdown pass back to DeKalen Taylor at the end of the first half. Like that was, one of those plays that if it doesn't work, everybody's yelling at the OC, but he dialed it up right in that situation. It's a big question mark going forward. And I can't wait to hear Sean's thoughts on this, because I don't know what to think of this football team other than that I don't like the overreaction, because like you said, 2 weeks into the 2024 season, after the Nebraska loss, the sky was falling. They still won 9 games. You needed the Hail Mary against Baylor in week 4 to get there.
And last year was coming off of a 4-win season, so you had some reason at least to wonder if this was going to work, right? Last year we had 9 damn wins, so you got evidence that Coach Prime knows what the hell he's doing if you give it a little time, a little patience. And this is a team. There's my Debbie right there. Glad you got in this week. This time we got evidence that the guy knows what he's doing, and he's doing the job well, right? And so you just got to calm down a little bit. Last week was a good team. This team we beat yesterday has its own system again, like North Dakota State, and so there's a lot of good to take out of this. And I don't, see why people can't find that. I don't think I have more questions. I think I feel pretty good about things after this game.
Okay, well, let's bring on Sean. Sean, I'm going to unmute you here. Sorry, bud. You were at the game yesterday, and let's get your general thoughts. And I know you and William always have a good back and forth, so I'm going to maybe get out of the way. We'll see how this goes.
No, I was listening to what you guys were saying, and I agree on both sides. I think that especially after the rewatch, I agree with William that the game was not as the negatives weren't as bad as they seemed watching it live. There was I think on both sides of the ball there was a lot better play than I thought. And I just think everybody, fans are going to do what fans do, and we're going to overreact to things, both positively and negatively. And you're seeing that with the quarterback situation. Caden Salter looked the most like, 2023 Caden Salter that we've seen so far in those opening 2 series. And I know sitting in the press box, there was even some question. I asked you, I said, is this the time to bring in Juju? And they ended up doing it right for that next series. But there was a lot of questions in the press box of why are you tinkering with this after you've gone down for 2 scoring drives? I think Salter at that point had 85% completion percentage, was making plays, and you bring it in and it kind of stalls things out a little bit. And then you go to the Staub experiment, and Staub has some success, and now you've got wild reactions the other way talking about how horrible Salter played, and that Staub's got to be the savior of this team, and he's undoubtedly quarterback 1 going forward, and he may be. I mean, I don't know what Coach Prime has in his grab bag of decisions to make going forward, but it'll definitely be an interesting week coming up.
I've got a lot of notes, and William, I'm going to let you jump in next, but I want to not bury the lead here. And we're going to get back to a lot of our notes from this football game, but the pressing question is who starts at Houston next week? Sean, you go first, William, and then back to me.
Predictions or who we think should start at Houston next week. So I think from everything that Prime has said, I think that Staub's going to start. And I think a lot of that comes back to things that nobody sees. And we've heard some rumblings over the course of camp and into the season about that Caden Salter may not be the best practice player. And and I think Staub is a gym rat type of guy, and he's going to give you the same effort in practice that he's going to give you in the game. And he's a guy that coaches love because of that. And so I think at some level, whether it's just even making a point to the guys on the team, the post game comments that Prime made lead me to think that's the direction he's going to go. I think that's a short-sighted view. Personally, I would stick with Salter. I think Salter gives you the best chance to win big games long term. And for the season, but it also creates other problems. The Staub performance just, I think it creates Juju problems as well. You need to get Juju, a couple series every game. I've been calling for that, since the offseason, that they need to kind of treat him a little bit like Texas did with Arch Manning last year, getting him some time. But if now Staub's elevating, I don't see how you manage a 3-quarterback system, but that's not my job to do.
Well, yeah, and I think I saw D in the chat said one thing that I want to agree with right off the bat, which is Juju is not ready, and I know he didn't get the same opportunities that Caden Salter and Ryan Staub got, but there was just something that wasn't there in terms of the maturity and the leadership that the other two guys brought to the line of scrimmage, and it's one of those kind of football things. I can't say necessarily exactly what it is, but there was just that feeling that he wasn't quite ready to lead a team yet. And to your point, Sean, you got to give him reps to get him there, but he's not the guy to be the number one guy right now. To answer the top question, which one starts next week? I swear that, quite frankly, is a tough question. It makes me glad to be an offensive line coach, not a quarterback coach, because Caden Salter did everything we wanted him to do in the offseason in those first 2 drives. He went down and got 2 scores on 2 drives, right? And then he's had some problems with accuracy. He overthrew some guys in the end zone. He had one play where he could have easily run for 25 yards, and he overthrew the pass and didn't get a first down. He's got to run the damn ball when he's got those open fields like that. And I loved, RG3 yesterday said, Robert Griffin III said a couple of times, you got to play football, man. You can't try to play quarterback. You got to play football. And so stop trying to prove you're a passer and just win the darn game. So he's got to get that together. But then Ryan Staub just got that it factor, man. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but when he comes in the game, the team plays a little better. They get a little more pep in their step. They do a little more, and some guys are just leaders like that you do a little more for that guy. And I agree with the people that, if it could have been tragic if that one pass had been intercepted early, but it wasn't. Let's move on, right? I think that his ability to change the play and get Sincere Brown going deep a couple of times made a huge difference in the game. And I don't know if Salter, I think Staub certainly feels comfortable to do that because he's been around Shermer for 3 years now. Maybe Salter isn't there yet, but that experience and ability to change the play a little bit is going to make a huge difference. And certainly Ryan Staub's got a lot more accuracy on his throws. So I don't envy Coach Prime or Coach Shermer this decision, quite frankly. I can't tell you who I think could start because I think they both did pretty well. I think Ryan Staub didn't have the downside that Salter did, but I think Sean's right when you talk about in terms of team chemistry and such. You got to give a guy a chance to play who showed something.
Yeah, good points, guys. When I look at this question, what I think is what is the ceiling of this football team with those 2 quarterbacks? And I think the ceiling is higher with Caden Salter if he can figure it out and mesh with Pat Shermer and they get a chemistry going. And again, back to my earlier point, it's 2 weeks into the season. Colorado looked like a mess offensively 2 weeks into the 2024 season. So you want to have this overreaction based on 2 games. But the bottom line is I think that if Colorado has any shot of being in contention for a Big 12 championship, they need a senior dual threat in Caden Salter performing. And he's not going to be perfect with every pass. But he's also going to do some things that are pretty special. That touchdown run How many quarterbacks in the FBS ranks get to that pylon? You know, not a ton. You know, he really showed some explosiveness in that run. And there are moments where you see the savvy. It's not clicking between him and what they're asking him to do. And that's frustrating. And I get that from fans. So if it was up to me, I would start Caden Salter, but I would have Ryan Staub on the ready because week to week, you can't afford to be too stubborn. You've got to be able to maximize your opportunities to win. And to your point, William, I think that Ryan Staub does kind of have a little bit of that gamer factor to him. You know, Sefo Lufau was not a good practice quarterback. We've heard that about Caden Salter. Ryan Staub, you know, he brings it every day in practice, as Coach Prime said, but you know, how many interceptions have we seen on those well-off media videos with him? It's not like he's, you know, crazy efficient throughout practices. And there's a reason that he was third string going into the season, but he shined in the moment. And it was really cool to see that moment with him and Coach Prime after his first touchdown. Well, I mean, like if you don't enjoy that, again, like don't be a college football fan.
Yeah. And I'm gonna jump in on that right now and not change the subject, but just, this is the beauty of Coach Prime and Deion Sanders. Every year you see that moment, and you can probably hear it in my voice. Every year you see that moment with him and one of those kids, Jimmy Horn, you know, and this guy loves these kids, man. And that's why they come and that's why they stay and that's why they play here, you know, and that's one of the reasons I'm proud to have this guy on our sidelines. I think, you know, my last thought on this quarterback situation is that I think there's something to the fact that Ryan Staub has the experience with the offense and in football, I think, to change plays and do those kinds of things. He may not have the ability to run the way the thing do with Salter, but I think he brings a lot to the game, and he changes. He seems to function within Shermer's play calling to some extent better than Salter does. Well, but I think. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, you know, Adam made that same point, and I think that's where the real challenge is for me is I think that, you know, I agree with Adam, and I said it myself. I think Caden Salter gives you the best opportunity to do the most long term and to finish the best just from his ability. The challenge is that I don't know that Pat Shermer knows how to call an offense for Caden Salter. And you see that, you know, you see that while there were still hiccups and there were still things that I didn't like in the play calling, you know, for Staub, there is a better flow to the offense, and the way that he calls that game just fits Staub's play style a little bit, or Staub's play style fits his offense a little better. You know, he's an NFL guy. He spent 20 plus years in the NFL running pro offenses, and he just doesn't have a feel for how to run, you know, this RPO, you know, dual threat sort of game. So that's the bigger challenge. And one of my bigger disappointments coming out of the offseason was that, you know, if you're going to go with a guy like Caden Salter, not only do you have to tweak the offense for that, but you've got to be able to call that offense. And the fact that they didn't bring in anybody who had experience running a spread RPO offense, an option offense, was one of my disappointments in the offseason, because, you know, you're asking a guy in Shermer to do something that he's completely unfamiliar with. And you know, as much as I like to think you can teach us old dogs new tricks, it's pretty difficult.
I can confirm that. Yeah.
Neither one of you two dogs anywhere near my age, so calm it down there, buddy.
Well, I was looking right at you, but
I know you were.
All right, so the defense. What a strange freaking football game, man. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a defense only give up 7 points missing that many tackles. I really don't.
Well, I think people get caught up too much in statistics, and at the end of the game, the only damn statistic that matters is on the scoreboard. And I think the defense actually played fairly well. They missed some tackles here and there, but for a lot of the game, they kept that offense entirely in check. And there were a lot of times when they stopped them dead cold. They didn't run the ball. They only got 80 yards. So that was better. The problem I think was the slot receivers and coming across the middle and that slant, that backside and inside slant. But I thought the defense played pretty damn well, frankly. When push came to shove and they got down near scoring range, they bowed their necks, man, and they made things happen. And some guys showed up. I'd like to hear what Sean thinks, but I thought frickin' Jeremiah Brown was fantastic. He played both edge and Mike linebacker, and he was outstanding, man. And his hustle, that one play with him and Ben Finiseth on the that's a teaching moment, man. I had a play like that when I was coaching defensive line, and a guy ran 80 yards down the field, and I stopped films on Monday and said, "That's it, fellas. That's what we want right there." But even beyond that play, since Jeremiah Brown, he caused that first interception, I feel like, because he was smashing the quarterback just as he's throwing, and I thought he was very strong in the middle. And I thought the defensive line played better than a lot of people are saying that they did, because I thought a lot of times they were pushing that offensive line back. So I'm less concerned about the defense, and I would also go back to last year again, because Robert Livingston's defense really didn't start to click until game 4, maybe game 5. So I'm not as concerned about the defense as everybody else is, but I'd like to hear what Sean thinks.
Yeah, I think the defense looked a lot more like last year's defense in a lot of respects. I agree with your Jeremiah Brown take. I think he gives Livingston more flexibility in the defense, because you're talking about a guy who is he's a bigger frame. He's not that much of a bigger body, but he's a bigger frame, and he's a guy who in the past has played edge, and then transitioned to middle linebacker when he came to Colorado. He looked the best yesterday that he's looked since he was at Jackson State. So it seemed like it just took him a couple years for his athleticism and his comfort to kind of take the step and level up to the FBS play. But I thought he looked great. I like what Martavius French brings to the linebacker room. I think he
played much better in week 2 than he did week 1.
Yeah, well, and I was one of the guys that thought he actually played a pretty good game in week 1. I thought he outplayed Reggie Hughes, but
I thought he played pretty well both weeks, and I think he'll get better. And there's a lot of upside there.
I agree on the defensive line. I still think, I'm still a little surprised that Brandon Davis-Swain is getting the start and getting as much playing time. I know they like his athleticism, and he's still kind of growing into a DT, defensive tackle body. He started as more of an edge guy, and so he's learning all that. But I think, like I said last week, he's kind of where Anquin Barnes was a year ago. Yeah, and that guy's much improved.
Let me just jump in there on that, because I watched him 2 games in a row and I don't see it. Taufik Thomas is playing much better,
right,
and should get those snaps, in my opinion. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree. So I think that the pieces are there. I thought the secondary looked much more comfortable and played a lot better. There's still a few issues. They're still working on trying to figure out the safety depth in that rotation. And I think as guys get healthy and get more practice time, we'll see that shake itself out. And none, you look at a guy like Ben. I love Ben. He played a better game yesterday than he did in week 1, but you can also tell that he just hasn't played a lot of football, a lot of meaningful football. And so he's doing a lot of the right things, but he's not impacting the game, or he's not making plays in a lot of those cases. So it's improving. I thought that RJ Johnson was the most improved player on the field from week 1 to week 2. Looked like
Taufik Bayard looked like what I expected a lot more. Came up and made some of those tackles in the backfield. And then Makari Vickers got a lot of time too.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have Makari Vickers back, because he's a big surprise with his, after the heart issues in the off season, you just really didn't know if you were going to count on him at all this season. And he was a highly talented guy coming in, who had playing time. So he's, I think he just makes that whole, and he can also play. You can play him in multiple positions. You can play him at corner, you can play him in the slot, and you can play him at safety. So I think he adds a big element to the defensive backfield. And the tackling was just atrocious.
Yeah.
I think at one point we were talking about that the missed tackles had to be into, well into the double digits and possibly above 20 at some point. And that's, I think, a byproduct of just how camps are run these days. And it happens at the NFL level too. Nobody tackles. Nobody wants to get their players hurt with friendly fire. And so, you go through the process of thud, which doesn't help you with actually tackling in a game. So it takes a few weeks. I was just surprised that we saw more issues with it in week 2 than we did in the opening week against a much, tougher team.
I thought, and I think they'll probably continue to work on that. Like I said, last year, they got better at these things as the year went on to an extent. But I was also encouraged that it didn't show up in the stats necessarily, but our pass rush was pretty stout, and we were putting him on the ground a lot. Even the TV announced, I watched the replay and talked quite a bit about how much we were putting Nicoletti or whatever his name was on the ground, and it doesn't show up. We had 1 sack, I think, but we were bouncing that kid around quite a bit. And the other thing I thought that I liked was Livingston dialed up a whole lot of different, more pass rush blitzes and stunts this week that I thought were pretty effective too.
Yeah, just to put a bow on what you guys said, definitely I think Jeremiah Brown would get my game ball if I had one for this. The 4th down stop, the 3rd down stop, the fumble recovery, and such a great feel-good story. It was kind of – Brian and I were talking in our analysis video about just this was the weirdest game we've covered in a long time, just because it was like these negative things to talk about and these positive things. It was just like trying to sift through it all. From the negative side, Carter Stoutmeyer and Preston Hodge have to be better than they have been through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Both those guys. I feel like they're more talented than what they've shown through 2 weeks. Again, it kind of goes back to that point of, okay, if Colorado is going to be a conference contender, guys like that need to be a lot more consistent than they've been through 2 weeks. And so those are a couple guys I really need to see step up. On offense, Draylon Miller has been very quiet. Obviously, he got hit really hard on that initial. It looked like the ball was coming to him, and the guy crashed on him, and he went to the sideline, came back in. But he just was not really part of the mix again for the second week, which was surprising.
I thought, on the positive side, I got to tell you, 2 weeks in a row, man, Simeon Price, that dude.
Yeah, I like that too.
Everybody thought he was an afterthought that they brought him in as a waste of a spot. But man, that dude needs more carries because he's the real deal. That spin was beautiful, man.
He hit the X button or whatever it is on the PlayStation remote. Yeah.
Jerked himself around, but his running is. There was one play where he hit the pile and he just drugged the pile about 8 yards, and now 3 or 4 offensive linemen were pushing the pile too. But that's the kind of thing that you want from that big running back, man. And I'm very impressed with him. I think Michael Welch was solid. Didn't have a great day, but had the touchdown run. DeKalen Taylor showed, I think, really why he's here and what he can do. So. I think there were positives. I thought the offensive line played fairly well. They dominated in the run game. They struggled with the tackle end stunts and the blitzes, but on straight one-on-one blocking and pass protection, I thought they did pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with what you both were saying. A little deeper into a bit of that. Preston Hodge played a much better second half. He actually shut Jake Thaw down in the second half. So the first half, those really what was killing Colorado was Jake Thaw running at those option routes, and he was just freezing Preston and I think he hit all of his 85 yards probably in the first half. Second half, Preston did a much better job and really shut him down and kind of took him out of the game. And that's when we started seeing, all the big plays from that point on were 5 bodies laying on the ground because they couldn't bring down a runner. But so I think he played better. I do agree on Carter Stoutmeyer, but I do think he improved from week 1 as well. I think we saw a lot less of the starting 15 yards deep, backpedaling 5 yards and really just taking himself out of a play before it starts. So he was playing more downhill, a lot of missed tackles, but I liked the aggressiveness. I think one of the things Simeon Price gives the offense, and DeKalon Taylor too, is they give Shermer the ability to run the stretch zone that he wants to run. And if you look at a lot of the big runs, that's where they came.
Yeah, the touchdown was a stretch zone to the left, and they blocked it great. In fact, the wide receiver had to keep block on that.
Yep. So I think that's one of those things that's going to aid in Shermer's offense, is the ability to run stretch zone. Simeon Price by far has the best vision out of the backfield, and that's
he got some shiftiness you wouldn't have thought.
Absolutely. You're talking about a senior who's had who knows what he's doing, and I think he's surprised everybody with his athleticism. So I like him a lot. And it'll be interesting to see when Dallin Hayden gets healthy, what he adds to the mix with this, with this new offensive line as well, and to kind of see what we've got.
One thing that stands out to me is whether it's the stretch zone or the inside zone or the split zone, our zone blocking is beautiful, man. They all take the step and they get down their track and they just take whoever shows up. And like on that touchdown, Seaton goes out and there's not really anybody there, but he stays on his path, and then he gives just a little bit of a nudge to make that happen. And I just love to watch that. It's just so pretty to watch from behind, especially.
Yeah, I think I think we may be better, even though we've got big bodies. I say we. I think CU may be better, even though they've got big bodies at running stretch zone. As well as some of the gap schemes, just because it seems like. It seems like as big as the bodies are, that there's a challenge in reaching the linebackers on inside zone, at coming off the doubles and getting to the linebackers on time. There's just especially anybody that's any linebackers that are shifty and have quick bursts. We're just not getting to them, and so those backers that are blowing up a lot of the inside zone stuff.
Well,
so.
And the other guy that's killing us in the run game is Zach Atkins, man.
Yeah.
When he's an inline, we had a really nice hole, and the backside end came around because Zach Atkins let him cut through the inside, and he has got to get his blocking better, or they got to play.
Yeah. Well, and those are some things that I think to come down to play calling too, is they continue to run zone away from the tight end. I think if you run it to the tight end, put him at the point of attack, you're looking at cutbacks that are behind him. So even if he doesn't get a great block, it's better, but also using him in more of the split zone scheme so that he's looking at picking off the backside edge instead of, having to take somebody on head up.
And this is the kind of stuff you and I could talk about for hours, the difference between the split zone and the outside zone, run it to the tight end, away from the tight end, and what it does for you. And I think it's a lot of fun, and I think those are the little nuances that an offensive coordinator has to think about. And
just real quickly, I wanted to touch on what you brought up too, Adam. I agree. Draylon Miller struggled, and I was trying to think about why. And I think the difference is that this year, DeKalon Taylor and Q and Quentin have taken a lot of what was Draylon's role last year. He was the gadget guy. He was the short burst guy that they were creating plays for. This year, they're asking him to be a receiver. They're asking to be a full, well-rounded receiver. And it's just, he's a young guy and he doesn't have a lot of experience doing that. So he's struggling. Blocking on the outside. He's, the one really bad misthrow that it looked like Salter made, and I'm not talking about the airmail on the sideline, but the one into the end zone on that, I think at the second drive, he threw it behind Draylon, and going back and looking at that film, Draylon, that was on Draylon. He didn't run into the open space. He took the ball, or he took his route into the middle safety, and Salter put the ball right in that seam where it needed to go. And that's just an experience thing. That's those guys not being on the same page, but it's also a guy that just hasn't run a lot of routes in real game time experience. It'll pick that up. He's ultra talented guy, but I think this just may be that, while it may look like a sophomore slump, I think it's going to be that growing year for him where he gets a lot of learning.
That being said, too, though, the wide receiver room is so stacked because yesterday the stars, if I remember correctly, was Sincere Brown, Joseph Williams, and Isaiah Hart. Right? So you got to be on top of your game, or you're going to get beat out by somebody else. Because Sincere Brown looked like he was supposed to look yesterday, and thank God somebody had brains to take a 6'5" guy and run him deep, for Christ's sakes, man. I mean, where's that, dude? Man, I'm an offensive line coach, and I know that much.
Well, and unfortunately, it took a 21-year-old kid to actually make that adjustment. But
right.
I think Joseph Williams, I think JoJo's like hands down the best wide receiver on this team from all aspects. He is tough. He is hands down the best blocker on the edge. He's a great route runner. He's got, sure hands. He knows where he's supposed to be in any of these schemes that they're putting out there. So I think by the end of the season, while he may not be the big star in a lot of games, it may be a Sincere, taking the lid off. It may be, one of the other guys with catch and run sort of things. I think he's just going to be that solid number one guy. And the nice thing is that you've got him for 3 more years, right? 3 years. 3 years total.
One long pass down the middle from I think it was from Staub. They were right on the same page because Joseph had to bend that in to get in front into that one little spot where the ball could go, and Staub knew he was going to be there and put it right on the money. Yeah,
and that was, while everybody looks to the 2 passes to Sincere Brown, those were both routes where the cornerback sat on the hitch, which tells you a little bit about the predictability of Shurmur's offense, is that there are certain sets and certain situations where the defense knows what's going to happen. And both times the cornerback sat on that hitch, but they had changed it up, and Sincere ran right past them. The one big time throw that I give Staub credit for was that deep dig post, whatever you want to call it, into JoJo. That was a big time throw at a big time moment.
Right over the linebacker.
Yep.
Dumped it right into the basket right there where, that's not, people think that's just a straight throw down the field, but it really is much more than that.
And one last point, is I think what we saw out of DeKalon Taylor yesterday is almost what to expect week in and week out, is 100 all-purpose yards, a guy who's going to get, who's going to make the most of his touches, is going to put up somewhere in the 40 to 50 yards rushing, and then is going to be involved in the pass game and put up another 50 yards, and nothing he does is, he's not going to lead either group in any of those categories, but you're going to get to the end of most games and he's going to have somewhere around 100 yards rush or 100 all-purpose yards and probably a touchdown to boot.
Great stuff, Sean. We should probably schedule out a longer podcast because I feel like I'm having to kick you off to get other guests on and do some other stuff, but it's great stuff, and always appreciate having you in the press box with me. You're going to be out at Houston with me. We're going to be sweating down there. It's going to be a hot one on Friday night, but I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get down there. And, hopefully we see this team take 2 more steps forward, and then we'll all be on pins and needles, waiting to see what happens with the quarterback room.
Awesome. Well, if you are logging on to BuffStampede.com and you haven't read Sean's writing, you're really missing out. A great writer, and always appreciate your contributions. Thanks for joining on the podcast. Hopefully we can keep this going. Like I always tell you, if you've got nothing better going on a Sunday, we'd love to have you, because I know the folks out there love hearing what you have to say.
Love talking football, brother.
Yep. Thanks for having me on anytime, William.
You man.
All right. We'll see you.
He gets the nuts and bolts of it, man. He and I get down weeds, And
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm just
sitting
there listening to you guys. Like, I'm not going to get involved here because you guys have got your flow going. So it's great stuff. Let's bring in our new guest, but first, let's pay a few bills first. Is your business growing but not quite ready for a full-time CFO? Macaulay Capital offers fractional CFO services for companies doing more than $3 million in annual revenue. You get expert financial leadership without the full cost. Learn more about how you can improve your business's profitability and cash management at MacaulayCapital.com. If you know Boulder, you know the Hungry Toad. We've been serving this town since 1991, long before the lines on Pearl Street. Just north of campus, we're your local British pub with proper fish and chips, quality burgers, a scratch kitchen, real English cask ale, and no tourist fluff. We support CU football, women's soccer, and the loyal fans who keep it local. The Hungry Toad, Boulder born, Buffs proud. All right. William, before we bring in our next guest, the new William, I got to ask you about Taco Bell. Have you get any Taco Bell this week?
Had it yesterday, as a matter of fact.
What'd you get there?
I got basically I got the buff box without the cinnamon things in the drink.
Okay. Well, I showed you before we started this show that I've got a courtesy of Taco Bell, a Jordan Seaton shirt for you, which I know is going to be worn with a lot of pride. Absolutely.
You can't give me the little guys, man. You got to give me one of the big guys.
Yeah, the other shirt that came my way is Julian Lewis, and I'm like, I know which shirt William wants, and I can't take the old lineman away from him.
Well, and having been a defensive line coach too, quarterbacks are the enemy. Those are the guys who put your face mask between their shoulder blades and make the snot come out of their nose.
All right, let's bring in our guy, Will Burnett. Will, thanks for hanging in the background there. Is there any news from the NFL ranks yet? Is Travis been getting in there?
You know what? As we speak right now, well, first of all, I just wanted to say I'm extremely jealous that you guys do get the buff box in Colorado. I've been driving through these dang Taco Bells out here asking for a buff box, and they look at me like I need to go to the hospital or something. So it's definitely one of the perks of living in Colorado for you guys, and one of the demerits living out here. But as we do speak, I just watched Travis catch a little nice out route. They're using him as they said he was gonna be used. He's all over the field. I think he's got about five catches for 20-something yards. So I think he's just starting to get his kind of his wheels rolling. It's a whole different world for him now in the NFL. You get him in space in college, and he's all but taking it to the house. In the NFL, there's about 4 or 5 hats on the ball every time he catches it. So it's even the great Travis Hunter, I think, is going to have some growing pains here, but it's just going to look a lot smoother and more athletic than most growing pains we've seen.
And obviously, folks will be able to check in this coming week to get updates on all the buffs in the NFL through you. Hey, have we figured out the nicknames here? I know there was a thread on our message board trying to figure out how we're going to decipher the Wills.
You know what? I was going through those too with some of the YouTube comments that I think the most votes were for Young Will.
Young Will. Okay.
Young Will isn't bad.
Well, you know what that means for the other Will, though.
Well, it's like so whether it's Young Will or Skinny Will, neither one of them makes me look all that good. I'm just saying. I don't know, man. Maybe you can change your name to Bob or something.
Listen, you're right. And so I had to run that past the great William Gardner here to see if you're right. Where there's one thing, there's always a cause and effect. I don't want you to be at the short end of the stick of being the old Will. I was calling you OG William, which means original gangster William. That's the way I got you.
The one that really kind of caught me was somebody said, "How about the not angry Will?"
That one fit too. But again, I'm going to leave that to you to decide what you want to be called. People call you William. You are the William of the show. Young Will, just Will is okay. I think I saw a Billy the Kid. I saw a couple. I saw a couple good ones.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
I had a good time. No, yeah, less angry Will is, especially after a Saturday like we just witnessed. Definitely less angry Will for both.
I mean, a little salty last week, and then Adam likes to push my button with this one guy's name, which we won't say this time.
Did you hear what happened with Mike Gundy and Dan Lanning this last week?
Oh, I saw that. That was, yeah. Oh my goodness. Two guys, man. How do you pick a winner in that?
Gosh.
Whew.
Yeah, I know.
Holy cow! But what'd you think of our game yesterday, Will?
I was sitting in here, listening to you guys. Adam, you're right. Listening to William and Sean, that's like a master class of ins and outs of football. You guys talk not just the surface level stuff. You go into the third, fourth tier languages of football, and I just geek out on that all day. It's one of my favorite things to listen to. What did I think about it? I thought that Staub fits Shermer's type of offense, and we showed as the result being that. I think that Shermer prefers a certain style of offense, and he's tried to curate a specific offense around Caden Salter's strengths and abilities. And I just don't think that's Shermer's authentic way of calling offense. And I think it's made Caden, who I can't help but feel for a little bit, look a little bit erratic out there. He looked lost. I think that his strengths at Liberty don't quite fit what our offensive coordinator's desires are for our offense to go. And you saw Staub with a few years of just sitting back and watch Shador do it. He came in there and he didn't miss a beat. He was throwing the ball downfield, which I think, William, you said, thank Christ for that, because I've been waiting on somebody taking a shot for 2 weeks now, and he does it. That dime that he threw down the middle over the second, right in between the second layer and dropped it in there was gorgeous. And then Sincere Brown over there looking like Patriots Randy Moss with those deep routes. I mean, it was a thing to see when Staub was in there. Like you guys said, I don't envy Coach Prime for how he's going to make this decision. What are you guys thinking of who he's going to go with? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think most likely, if I had to put money down on a starting quarterback next week, it would be Ryan Staub. My personal opinion, we talked about this with Sean or very early on, is that I would go with Caden Salter. I don't think there's a wrong decision there. And you really hope that Julian Lewis takes this in stride, because he is still the future quarterback of this program, and nothing changed. And, 2 series in a game like that, you can't make long-term evaluations based on that. So, but he can't start this game. Obviously, you got to go with either Staub or Caden Salter, and neither would surprise me. But I really have a feeling that Coach Prime's going to go with Staub.
And I think with the 2 quarterbacks, Caden Salter did everything right those first 2 drives. He took us down and got scores on both drives. I think as I think about it, Caden Salter attacks the edges, at least yesterday, a lot better. Okay, so we can attack the edges with him much more effectively, both with the run and the pass. But Ryan Staub gives us the middle of the field and the deep ball. And either way, the run game seems to have been working pretty well yesterday. So I think it kind of depends. I think, quite frankly, it could depend on what the defense you're going to see. It's like if they want to sit up and play press man or something like that, you put Staub in there and throw it deep to these guys.
Yep.
I don't know that Salter has that throw, but he's got other things. What he does need to do is learn to pull that ball down, not throw it, and just take the 20 yards that are right in front of you.
And that's what I think that kind of where the confusion comes when I say that he looks a little disoriented or confused out there. We don't really know if he does have that deep ball in his repertoire, because we haven't really seen him unleash that yet. And I don't know if that is Shermer saying, hey, we're going to play your style that you played at Liberty. Don't worry about our old style or what that is. Because the minute we did have a guy who was able to go downfield, and it wasn't for a lack of guys being open. There was times where Caden could hit guys downfield, and he chose to keep the ball in his hands or just check down. I don't know. We haven't really seen if that is in his repertoire. And Adam, touching on you, I think there's no doubt about it that Julian, within one throw, he is the most talented quarterback in that locker room. You saw a couple little short throws for him, but man, does that ball spin off his hand quickly. It's a quick release. It gets down the field. So the future is him. I just don't know if it's right now.
I think if you know, to go on your point, Will, somebody mentioned on our board that if Farrakhan catches that ball, which he damn well should have, that's a touchdown, boy. And we're having a different conversation today, an entirely different conversation today.
Totally agree. And that's one that you had to, and it was nothing but green grass around him. You're right. He takes that into the house, and maybe it's the Julian Lewis show, and Staub doesn't even get a chance to have the game that he has. And
that's the thing of this game, man. It's like, I've thought for years, guys that come out of high school are 4 and 5 stars and they don't make it. Maybe they went to the wrong place. Maybe they just didn't get that one play that got them started, But this game is so beautiful because one little thing like that could change the whole complexion of a game, So
game inches.
Yeah, so many things happened in yesterday's game, and there was other guys that showed up. Before I forget, I want to say another guy that stood out to me on defense was Alexander McPherson. Was very effective at the edge, man. And blocking a punt too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I didn't expect to see him this year, honestly.
I didn't know.
I loved it after the block punt from Alexander McPherson. Coach Prime in the post-game press conference said, and it was recovered by Jesus of Nazareth. Like, who is that? It's let me look it up. It's Tristan Maros. He's a walk-on that's on there. And
because have you ever seen?
I saw that at like 11:30 last night after a really long day. It just made me laugh.
And I think it's because of the way he looks. But I also thought the other great Coach Prime one-liner was Martin
Luther Staub.
Ryan Staub. King, Martin Luther Staub. Martin Luther Staub, because he has a dream.
I've been laughing at that.
Funny, man. He's a funny guy.
And you got to give it to him too. A lot of coaches, when they're on those, halftime, just the interviews that you have to do, it's a part of the job.
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and you got to give it to him. He's loose in the moment. Yeah. Not only does he have time to dissect what he's doing and what happened in the first half, but he also throws a nod to the sideline reporter's outfit and says, "You're killing it with that outfit, girl. Keep going," and then goes seamlessly back into his cover. It's like, and I don't know one coach who can do that.
And he's got the persona and the personality that if I said that, it'd be creepy and they'd be like, "Get this guy out of here, man." But it just cool for him, man.
It works. I don't know how it works. And once again, I don't know another coach who can make a Martin Luther Dream reference there and get away with it. Coach Prime can get away with it.
And I want to reference, something's been going on in the chat. There's a guy in there saying, when's Coach Prime going to be held accountable? Well, what the hell do you want, man? He took a 1-11 team and turned it into a 9-win team last year. We're only in the second game this year. He's plenty held accountable. I think he's doing a heck of a job. And I think we're still on track to do exactly what we did last year, which is, get better each week and really put together a special season.
Yeah, well, I mean, be held accountable for what? I mean, what you want to see after one loss is a bounce back and showing that you made some adjustments.
Right.
That's exactly what he did yesterday.
And he clearly had a conversation with Shermer because he called a much better game yesterday.
Oh, yeah, much better. I totally agree. And you guys covered it too earlier. I mean, I think that Caden did not play bad. I was even enjoying what Shermer and Caden had cooking.
They were fixing up.
They were doing great. That's the part that's what you get with that kind of 3-quarterback carousel is any other team. I don't think Caden gets pulled in that situation. I think that he stays in the game and keeps going. But Julian now needs to get his touches, and then that opens up for Staub. But I agree. There was obviously discussions had between coaches, both defense and offense at all levels, and they made those changes.
Yeah, and then somebody just put up in the chat, Game 5, this team will look a lot different, and that's when it hit last year. That's when it really started to roll. Was Game 5 last year? Because I think Coach Prime doesn't take a lot of BS either from his coaches or his players, and he expects things, and so they get better each week, and that's the mark of good coaching to me. Not that you're the Green Bay Packers in Game 1, but that you get better and you're better as the week goes on. That's what I saw yesterday. Last week.
Yep.
I'm gonna step in with the PSA. Like you said there, William. It took until Game 4 last year. And we heard throughout the broadcast on Fox them talking about the coaches telling them that this is a journey.
Right.
With so many talented new players, depth. Now that depth is really going to help this football team in November. That's something that Colorado football has not had. Right now, you're like almost maybe a little bit frustrated as a Buffs fan because so many guys are rotating through and you kind of want to know who those guys are. And, you know, that will kind of play itself out. But sometimes injuries play that out for you as well. I would say this. Going forward, you've got 10 more football games. Let's enjoy every win, share our frustration, question marks, but like it just let's let this play out and see how it goes. And if it gets frustrating, then absolutely we're going to hold folks accountable. It's 2 games and it's too early for some of this emotional stuff that's going on out there. And I get it because like you, William, when I left that game last night, was feeling a little bit more pessimistic. Watched the rewatch of the game, a little bit more optimistic. Kind of somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? And so as we go forward, we're going to find out. At Houston next week, should be able to win that football game, but it's on the road. It's going to be humid as heck. Good thing is most of the guys on Colorado's football roster are from the South, so that's not going to phase them too much. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be a grind here going forward. The schedule outside of maybe Wyoming in a couple of weeks at home is going to be really difficult the rest of the way. And so I don't know. I'll get you guys' thoughts on that just in terms of kind of balancing enjoying being a college fan versus, you know, just overreacting to things.
Well, I think looking at that schedule, I would say it's challenging, but there's nobody on there that's, you know, super scary. There's no Oregon on there or USC that you look at and go, we can't win that. Every team on there we can beat. And I think a lot of the rankings and stuff will change up as the season goes on. I think we've seen that most of these teams are beatable. TCU doesn't look that great. So, you know, we'll see. I think it's hard when you're as invested in a team as we are, and many of the people. If you're here watching us three, well, one handsome dude and 2 old guys do a podcast on Sunday morning, you're pretty committed to the Buffs. So, you know, it's hard to let that kind of go and not be frustrated when they're not playing well, and especially after the last 12, 15 years of futility. But you're right. You know, you gotta, like, you know, I texted you when I sent that first text. Juju had just taken a knee, and I was like, man, I don't know, we're not very good. And then I watched it over, and it looked entirely different. You just can't trust what you see live in a game. You know, you got to watch it again and see what's out there. And I came away with feeling pretty good about it. Like you talked about, you know, the depth we're getting here. Guys like, you know, Simeon Price keeps stepping up. Sincere Brown stepped up. Jeremiah Brown stepped up. Alexander McPherson stepped up. Makari Vickers, you know, and we're going to keep seeing
bodies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Go ahead, Will.
No. I totally agree with you, William. I think I'm kind of the outlier with this because you're right. There's the fandom part of it, and then there's wanting us to win championships and go to the playoffs and win the Big 12 and all those different things. I don't like harping on the past, but for the sake of this discussion, I will. I was there at the Cal game a few years ago when we stormed the field because it was the only game that we won that year versus the Cal Golden Bears. Let's sit on that for a little bit and think of how far we've come from that moment of joy, just that we won a ball game, to being in a discussion now where we have guys we have a plethora of quarterbacks who can all start and who are all talented. We have depth. We have guys who I'm getting ready to cover today at the next level in the NFL. This is amazing stuff, and this is an incredible time to be a Buff fan, especially considering all the turmoil that we've gone through for the last, you know, for years following. So you're exactly right. In the first half, watching yesterday, I was disappointed in some things. I was yelling at my TV. Well, we can't make tackles. We can't, you know, what's our line doing? All those different things. The second half, all of a sudden you see things start to come together. And it's like, William, you said, what time do you get hot? It's week by week. There's teams in the NFL and in college who play pretty abysmally in the first part of the season. They get hot, and all of a sudden they're the favorite to go take it all. Is that going to be Colorado? Time will tell, but it's looking good, and I'm happy with what we're doing right now as a program, and I'm going to sit on that happiness. There's plenty of time to be pessimistic. I'm going to be the happy one.
Well, I'm going to bookend your story by saying I was in Folsom in 1986 when we stormed the field because we beat Nebraska 20-10. It was the first time we'd beat them in 20 years.
Wow.
And then we went on and started winning the conference every year and being national champion. So I hope you get that run, my friend, because
yes,
it's even sweeter. It tastes even sweeter if you get there after you stink for a while.
Man, I would have killed to be in that Nebraska game, storing Folsom, beating them. Ooh,
yeah.
Those goalposts ended up in some like frat houses. They went down Pearl Street. They had a whole adventure.
One of them got carried down to Varsity Pond and thrown off the bridge into the pond. and I've seen people, and then the athletic department got smart and they sawed it into sections and put it on a little pedestal and sold it to people. You know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give anything to be able to be in Folsom Field that day. That's before my time as well.
Yeah. All we have is tape, Adam. All we have is tape.
And then the other end of it was, I was on the field with the team in that 1991 Orange Bowl, and there's nothing quite like that.
Wow.
So.
Wow. The Salinesi where they were waving up to him, or where they were playing that for him.
That first year, because Sal and I had worked together. We and I are good friends. We worked because back then most players didn't leave. Sal and Oakland Salvea stayed on campus that summer, and we all worked on a team together. Fixing stuff and mowing stuff and whatever. And so that was one of those formative experiences for all of us, I think.
Man. Well, we've those were incredible times, and just from then we've come a long way too. It's an exciting time to be a Buffs fan right now and watch these games. I mean, we're on Fox watching these games. I mean, it's a different experience than we've had in the last few years. And sometimes you gotta, like my sister would say, sometimes you just gotta stop and smell the flowers.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to smell them right now, while still hoping that we can go and kick some butt moving forward too.
Yeah. There was somebody that says 4 years ago we lose to Delaware. Dan O said that, and I agree with him, and so that's kind of a good perspective in there. And it's one thing to like share your question marks, frustration. It's another thing like the sky is falling, because we just went through this a year ago when they were 1-1, and things actually appear to be trending a little bit better this time around. We'll see. But
I think it was much uglier after that Nebraska game. I mean, things looked
that was rough.
Oh my goodness.
That drive back from Lincoln was not fun, William.
Oh
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you.
Coming off a 4-win season then, and it's like, oh my God, maybe this thing doesn't work.
Oof.
Now we're coming off a 9-win season. We know it works. We just got to have patience.
Yeah. I agree. And that's probably something that I'm going to ask of myself, is to have patience with this team. It's good that I watch these games for the most part by myself, because I'm screaming and yelling at the TV and waking my dog up and everything. But
another thing that's I don't know, these things just pop into my head, but we haven't seen an offensive line tandem like Jordan Seaton and Xavier Hill on the left side.
Xavier Hill's been balling, hasn't he?
Oh my God. That dude is a bad month. But I'm not allowed to say it. But
shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
But that's why it was a no-brainer to run that stretch zone to the left side for that touchdown with Michael Welch, because those two dudes are grown-ass men.
God, they look good out there. And those are teams where when you're the opposing teams and you get off the bus and see the first thing you look at is that offensive and defensive line.
Yeah.
You see Seaton and Hill out there, okay, we're going to have a long day. We're going to have a long day. And they're playing the part. I am so thrilled about that, because that's been a real point of interest for us in the last couple of years. What I'm lying on both sides. They're really growing.
Yeah, and I think Zarian McGill has really settled down the center position after a lot of drama the last few years. He's been very solid in there. Need to work on the right side a little bit, but that'll get there.
Yeah. Like you say, as the season goes, they'll get more reps.
Yeah.
Well, Well, let's let you get back to your Jaguars coverage there.
Thank you. Yeah.
But great stuff, man. It's great to have you on the show. I think we've kind of found our groove for this season. And I enjoy having you and Sean, and obviously the OG. I'm going with that. That sounds right.
And it's okay if everybody thinks it's old guy. That's all right too.
Okay, we'll go with OG or the more angry William, less angry William. I'm kind of liking that one too. But as time goes on, we'll figure it out.
I think I'm the sometimes angry William.
Yeah, sometimes angry William.
Well, we're going to say goodbye to Billy the Kid now, but we appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you, fellas. Have a great weekend, gentlemen. I'll talk to you next week, okay?
All right, we'll see you, bud. Good stuff there. We've had a good show here. It's been fun to yesterday was such a range of emotions. And today I feel a lot better. I think that one of the as I look back on it, the game was never really in doubt right from the start. I think we had a chance to take this game and really open it up, and we didn't do it, just like last week. So we need to get better early in the game, but we do seem to get better as the game goes on. We do make good second half adjustments, but I think there was a lot to feel good about in this game. A lot to build on, and I think that Rob Livingston is following the same sort of trajectory. That defense will get better each week. And I thought he dialed up some really good stuff for this game against that offense. I mean, they're traditionally a pretty high scoring offense. Yeah, it's always one of those things with these early season games. I'm so anxious to watch what Georgia Tech does, and I know Haynes King was out of the mix because, I mean, that dude was a warrior against the Buffs, man. Like, he was getting up kind of slow from some of those late hits, and you knew he just was kind of like Cepho Lufau. He just was not going to let his teammates down. So I actually am kind of in the ACC. I'm a Georgia Tech fan now, man, because I like the way they run that system, and I'm anxious to see how they do. Delaware, I don't know. It's Conference USA, probably middle of the pack type team. That's a team that if they were more talented, probably would have taken advantage of things a little bit more than they did in some situations. But it's that weird contrast between the scoreboard and other things that you have question marks about, and that's what's good about a hour plus podcast is you can kind of go through all of it, right?
Yeah, and I think people have expectations. They hear Delaware and they think it should be 50-0, and so that's where the expectation comes. And then if it's not in the 40s, the people get disappointed and think something's wrong. But the other thing I think, looking back, watching that game over again, we had a lot of long drives, and they had a lot of long drives and ate up a lot of the clock. So there wasn't as many opportunities to get the ball. There wasn't a touchdown on special teams. There wasn't a touchdown on an interception or a fumble recovery or something like that. And a lot of times those are the things that run up those big scores. So I think there was a lot to look forward to and a lot to take out of this. I'd be curious who's your offensive defensive player of the week, maybe a special teams player of the week. Hey, by the way, that punter, man, that dude's he's aces, ain't he?
All right. He's working for that top 40 Buffs countdown.
Next year, man. Not only can he had that 160 plus yarder, plus a couple of times he dropped it right on the goal line,
And he almost had a perfect punt the week before too. I mean, he was pretty solid in the opener.
Yeah. So you got me talking about kickers, man.
New mate is pretty awesome. Yeah. So many good storylines. I think if Colorado has a lot of success this season, people will actually think back to this Delaware game with fond thoughts from some of the storylines that came in. I was looking over the Pro Football Focus ratings, and because I'm going to do a story later today, William, they do not like Jordan Seaton's run blocking. It seems really strange to me.
Yeah, I don't believe they do what they say they do, and I don't think they know how to grade offensive linemen worth a damn.
Well, one thing they do a pretty good job of is like defensive pressures in logging that. And one thing that I found really interesting is they credited London Merritt, the true freshman, with 4 pressures on just 19 defensive snaps.
He's the real
on
deal.
Saturday. Yeah, is he might kind of fill into that Keaton Wade third down specialist role at some point this season.
Yeah, and I think Alex McPherson had a couple of pressures too. I think for the second game in a row, we pretty much beat up the opposing team's quarterback. Didn't show up in the number of sacks necessarily, but we were all in their face, and I think that makes a difference and takes a toll over the course of the game.
Yeah. Anything else you have there? I think I've run through most of my notes here. I another one on DeCalen Taylor. I mean, there was that holding call on Terrell Timmons that he probably still makes that gain, at least pretty sizable.
Yeah.
Even despite that. So he should have gone over 100 yards of offense. Now, punt returning, a little bit of a different story. In
a fair catch.
Man, I paused it and I was like, oh my gosh, you cut right. That's it. With his ability, that might be a touchdown or at least a really big gain. And then I stopped it when Quentin Gibson had his punt return and the guys were breathing down his neck and he just grabbed that thing, ran to the right, and got like 15 yards out of it.
But he comes out of Texas football and he's used to getting knocked around and he's kind of fearless, and he's the one that says, well, I've always been little, so I don't worry about it,
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Did you have anything else?
No, I was just going to say, I was going to ask you what's your favorite play of the game, and then who your players of the game were on defense. On defense, to me, it's Jeremiah Brown, hands down.
Oh yeah. I said that earlier for sure.
Yeah, and then on offense, it comes down to me to Ryan Staub or maybe Sincere Brown, but I just love what I see from Simeon Price, the way that guy runs the ball, and best funnest play of the game to me was his little spin move on that run.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that I would probably go with offensively Staub. I mean, like, do they win this football game? I've seen this a few times because Brian and I titled our analysis video yesterday that Ryan Staub's helps spark Colorado to a victory. I said helps spark. I still think Colorado wins that football game if you go back with Salter and Juju, the rest of the way. However that looks, whichever guy you go with, I think they win that football game. But just kind of the spark, it really is. It's a spark that he provided. You see him throw up the Shador. You see him jump on offensive linemen's shoulders. He jumped on Xavier Hill's shoulder after that first touchdown. I think the first touchdown was my favorite because of the reaction and then going over to Coach Prime and getting the "I believe in you" response. And that's got to be the memory that we're probably going to remember the most from this game 5-10 years from now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I loved it when he threw up the Shador.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike, for the super chat. We got some other throughout the show, and appreciate everybody joining us live. And I know NFL is going on right now, so hopefully folks have got a 2-screen experience going on, so we're not keeping you away from your favorite NFL team. I think we're going to have to, at some point, probably do some Monday shows because if I'm traveling back from a game on Sunday, it might be tough for us. Obviously, I won't even be back home by 11 a.m. But next week, Colorado's at Houston. William, if it works with your schedule, maybe we can go live again. I think this setup works a little bit better than what we were doing on Zoom. What do you think?
Yeah, no, this is great. I enjoy this, and it's fun to see people come in and participate in the chat and try to answer some of the stuff when they bring them up.
Awesome, great stuff, William. Well, we will be back next week to recap the Houston game. In the meantime, keep logging into BuffStampede.com. I mentioned it. Sean Niehoff has got great preview stories that really breaks down the opponent, and he's got great recaps and stuff. So definitely check out his writing. And the new William is going to have Buffs in the NFL story early this week. Of course, we've got Oliver Hayes doing his stuff with the basketball on the basketball side of things. I know he's reaching out to the recruit that was on Colorado's campus yesterday. And William, always appreciate you, man. It was a very strange game to recap, but it was fun to do so.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Love working with Sean and young Will. We'll just keep having fun.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, William, and I appreciate everybody out there for tuning in.
Let's go. My Colorado swing. My Colorado swing. My Colorado swing. I think think they like my Colorado swag. Cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that gold, you know I'm acting bad. Holla, get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear, I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag is pushing 180. Speeding past competition, see you later, baby. Colorado Army with soldiers like the Navy. And boat is where we station, patiently awaiting. When I hit the field, it's so hard to behave. I'm Colorado swagging as the crowd do the wave. Look into my eyes, I can tell that you afraid. Cause you know we finna hit ya. Hey, you on your own now, why you watching the official? You just better hope you make it to the next whistle. And we ain't playing with you, you can get it anytime. It started at the scrimmage, we gon' win it at the line. My Colorado swag in the middle of the ring. Throwing blows, knocking down team after team. They like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that gold, you know I'm acting bad. Holla, get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear, I think they like my Colorado swag. Have you ever seen around? Nothing but Colorado. Buffalo is what I am. All the teams come and follow. When I start hit the field, the opposing crowd swallow. Cause they know I'm about to kill. He gon' feel that tomorrow. Whole team full of warriors. Got me feeling tribal. Big 12, here we come. We ain't worried about a rival. If you want it, come and get it. We'll wait for your arrival. When you hit this frozen field, man, it's all about survival. Pray you make it, yeah, you better bring your Bible. Crack back, blind side, flat line, no revival. Get them bucks, mess them up, we say we got them. If we don't, then we'll get them. When we see them, then we had them. Like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that gold, you know I'm acting bad. Holla, get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear, I think they like my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag. Cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that gold, you know I'm acting bad. Holla, get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag.